First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for taking my family to court over not getting inheritance money? So, years ago, around when I, 19 female, was, I think about 7, my great-grandmother passed away. She split inheritance money in her will from me, my mother, 39 female, my aunt, 45 female, and grandmother, 69 female. However, for me as it was written, it was stated I would only get the money at 18. I'm now 19 and somehow they gave the money to my mother. She never told me about this until I graduated high school. I asked why I didn't get mine, now that I'm of age, and she stated, well, you'll just spend the money. I understand where she came from, since people my age would spend it. But I am a little furious that I'm now in debt for college, and I could have used that money for student loans, or maybe even a new car. Or, if something happens as an example. After asking to give it to me, they each refused, despite me politely asking. So I decided to take this to court after seeing a copy saying I would get the money at 18. And now, everyone in my family is angry at me for standing up for myself. I believe if it's legally stated, then yes, you should fulfill, but I could be wrong, as I am young and I don't understand. Plus, they are my family, and I love them, but I don't feel this is fair and legal. Am I the a-hole for suing my family over inheritance money? Now for the top comments of this post. Not the a-hole. If this money was left for you to receive at age 18, you should receive the money at age 18. Your mother might be right that you will waste it, but if you do, that's your own call. You're an adult now. I don't plan to waste it. I plan to pay the leftover student debt of mine, which isn't much, around $4,000. Then save it for a rainy day if something happens. It doesn't really matter what you plan to do with the money. It's your money. The point is that your mom's argument that you will waste it isn't a good one. Because even if you waste it, that's perfectly fine. It's yours to waste, or save, or invest, or use in any way you please. She can't hold this money because she doesn't like how she thinks you'll spend it. It's not a valid reason because it's yours to spend as you please. I agree, you can withdraw everything in $1 bills and made tiny origami hats. That would be fine too. Not the a-hole. It's not your mother's money. Is it possible she spent it and won't tell you? I'm assuming she has. I've never seen this money ever in my life and was just told about this from a cousin and confronted her about it. Hopefully, she has not. Not the a-hole who managed the estate. It should have been placed in a trust, and as such, you are legally entitled to it. Yeah, I'm really surprised they gave the money to the mom to hold. That's not how wills usually work. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my mom financially because she paid for all my younger siblings' stuff, but not mine? I'm 26 female. I have 7 siblings. Ages 23 male, 21 male, 17 female, 13 female, 13 female, 9 female, 9 male. All of us, minus the twins, have different dads, and she has never had a stable boyfriend. Now, being the oldest, a lot of the mother responsibilities were passed off onto me. I babysat all of the kids until I moved out at 16, and my, now 17, sister even called me mom until she was 6. I taught my 4 youngest siblings how to walk, taught all of them to ride a bike, homeschooled my youngest sibling because she has learning disabilities. I also had all cooking and cleaning responsibilities, and was forced into a night job at age 15 to help her support the household, as well as being a full-time student and caregiver when home. When I moved out at 16, my grandmother moved in as my replacement. I never held this against my mom, even though it was her decision to have so many kids and force me into a mother role. However, I became extremely resentful of the fact that she bought my 23-year-old, 21-year-old, and 17-year-old siblings all cars. They were second-hand, yes, but she never even offered to help me pay for a car, let alone buy me one. She also paid for at least half of their college tuition. I didn't go to college, because I not only could not afford it, but I also did terrible in school due to working and being exhausted from being a parent to kids that aren't mine. It really messed with my grades, meaning no scholarship. I'm doing great now. I have a fantastic job, my own house, and have bought my car outright. I'm proud of myself, but now that my home and car have proven to my mom that I have money, I never discuss my money with her. She has started asking for handouts, loans that I know she will never pay back basically, as she has never paid me back before. Last night, she asked for $200. Didn't say why. I told her no, and when she asked why, I said, maybe you should ask your other kids. You know, the ones that you bought cars for and put through college? versus asking the one kid who didn't get jackass beside a mothering role. She flipped out and said that she never did that, and that I was basically being a drama queen and needed to grow up. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom's unhappiness that you've figured out she sees you as a family caretaker and have rejected the role is not your problem. If she asks for money again, tell her to grow up and take responsibility for her own finances. And seriously, think about how much contact you want to have with her going forward. I have very limited contact with her now, which is partly why I said no as well. She never calls me and barely answers when I reach out to her either. What your mom did is called parentification and is a form of abuse. She forced you into the role of parent. Not the a-hole. She already got her money's worth out of you when she took away your childhood. I would have said sure, and then give her an envelope of doll hairs. Not the a-hole. Grow up? You're more adult than she is. You grew up way too fast and had to be a mother so young to your siblings. Your mom is upset because she wants to use you as an interest-free ATM and still sees you as a family caretaker. They are not your responsibility. Be happy, live your life the way you want to, and let your siblings step up for once. This is what I wanted to say. The absolute nerve of this woman to tell you to grow up. Tell her to lose your number until she gets her stuff together and takes responsibility for her life choices. In no way are you an a-hole here, not the a-hole times 100. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not sharing my birthday money with my step-siblings? My parents split when I was 9, now 18 male, and my sister was 7, now 16 female. My mom got remarried 4 years ago, and my dad has been dating his girlfriend for 3 years. Right now, I live with my mom and stepdad along with his 3, 17 female, 16 male, and 14 male kids and my sister. My step-siblings lost their mom when they were young, so they live full-time with my mom and stepdad. I get along with my step-siblings, but we aren't really close. While my mom and stepdad both have good jobs, they make about €110,000 combined. We've always been somewhat poor, since we live in an expensive area and are a family of 7. But my grandmother from my dad's side is filthy rich. This has caused some issues and jealousy in the past, since she would buy my sister and me expensive gifts, designer clothes, a new phone/laptop, AirPods, etc. that my mom and stepdad couldn't afford. The issue. 3 weeks ago, I celebrated my 18th birthday. It was a small party, thanks to the virus, with some family and close friends, but we still had a blast. My grandma couldn't make it, thanks again to the virus, but sent me a video message. We watched on our TV. The message consisted of a sweet little speech, and her telling me she decided to give me €25,000 for my birthday. I was stunned, thought I was hallucinating, and didn't know what to say for nearly 2 minutes. Then I immediately called my grandma to thank her. My grandma wanted to know what I was going to do with the money, and I told her I was planning on traveling the world, if COVID allows it, after high school is done. When I was done talking to my grandma, I could see that my step-siblings were very annoyed, and they left the party a few minutes later. They have been acting cold towards my sister and me ever since. A few days after my birthday, my mom and stepdad sat me down and asked me to share the money with my step-siblings. They were saying I wouldn't need $25,000 to travel the world, and that it was unfair towards my step-siblings. They also mentioned all the expensive gifts my sister and I got over the years. I told them I would think about it. Now, I know that I'm extremely privileged, and that it's unfair towards my step-siblings, but I don't want to share the money. I want to go all out on this trip and use what's left to travel during college. Am I the a-hole? Now let's read the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your grandma didn't give it to them. She gave it to you. For your birthday. They will get over it. I want to piggyback and for Opie to make sure no one can get in his account and steal the money, since sometimes things like these can escalate. Edit. Shouldn't have assumed he had a bank account. If he doesn't, he should make one, or let the grandparents have the money and give it there until he leaves, unless he needs it now. Info. Where do you store your money? I have my own bank account. Although my parents originally opened it for me as something called a child savings account, it became my account when I turned 18, so I'm not exactly sure if they still have access to it. Not the a-hole. They were saying I wouldn't need $25,000 to travel the world and that it was unfair towards my step-siblings. I guess now is a good time for them to learn the lesson that life isn't fair. It's not your dad's mom's responsibility to take care of your mom and stepdad's kids or to treat them as equal to you. Because they're not. They are not her grandchildren. Their mom died when they were little. I think they're already acutely aware that the world isn't fair. Not the a-hole. It was a gift for you, and it's rude of your mother to demand you to share it. You can choose to share, as it's yours, but you should feel no guilt for not sharing. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for completely remodeling my deceased father's home and refusing to share my inheritance with my step-siblings? I inherited my father's house after he and his wife died in a car crash 2 years ago. After about a year in the house, I decided it was time to begin treating it like it were mine and felt ready to start thinking about renovations and furniture changes. Everything was done earlier this year, and the house is completely different than what it was before, save for a single chair I decided to keep. Even the exterior colors and landscaping are totally different. My stepsisters, 28, 24, 19, came over yesterday for the first time since it's been renovated. Immediately after looking around, they started freaking out about how I ruined our parents' house and yelled and cried about how it looked like they had never even lived there. Then they complained about my dad not leaving them as much as me, how they got ripped off in the inheritance just because they were stepchildren, and how unfair it was, and how I should share my inheritance with them. I told them to get the F out of my house. Their mother was only married to my dad for a couple years before they died, and we were all grown, except the youngest who was 16. It's not like he was with this woman for 20 years and raised these children. My dad left me the house and about $2 million after taxes and gave them each $200,000. Personally, I think that's rather generous to leave the adult children of a woman you've only been with for a few years. Also, this woman on her own had nothing, and they would have been lucky to get enough money from her death to cover the funeral had she not been with my dad. I feel like I didn't do anything wrong, but a few family members are telling me I should have waited a few years before renovating, and I should have given them all some more of the inheritance. What do you guys think? Now let's read the top judgment for this post. Not the a-hole. Never invite them to your home ever again. Ever. Added to add, you should never give up your inheritance to solve the witching of other people who didn't get an inheritance. The dead speak by their last will and testament. Don't mess with the dead. I mean, this is true, but also they did get an inheritance, and pretty generous one at that. A man who had only been in their lives for a few years did a really great thing for them and left them each a couple $100,000. Any decent person would be truly appreciative of that and not trying to pressure his daughter into giving up her inheritance to their greedy selves. Not the a-hole. They got $200,000 each, and they're complaining for more? Not to sound bratty, but they were lucky to get anything. You can do whatever you want with your house. And it is your house now. It's not theirs. If he wanted it to be theirs, he would have left it to all of you. Not the a-hole. It was your inheritance, and as you stated, they were nearly all adults when your parents got married. They are not entitled to anything your dad left, and he was generous in his gifts to them. Maybe a heads up that you were remodeling, so they could have taken any furniture or items that were your parents that you were getting rid of. But still, you don't owe them anything. Not the a-hole. It was your father's wish to allocate his assets as he did. They have no rights to anything else, and the house is yours to do as you please. I doubt your father would be upset you remodeled. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.
Last month, a friend began to cross a flooded river in his car with me in it. I jumped out because I'd been caught on a flooded causeway before. I now have a letter from his lawyer asking for damages because the car was washed off the causeway and written off. Original post. Longtime reader here, and I'm pretty sure this is a case of my probably ex-friend being an idiot on a lawyer's letterhead or not telling his lawyer the whole story. When I'm in the middle of it, it feels a lot different though. We're in New South Wales, Australia. Early in November, we went to pick up car parts after work that my friend, I'll call him Aaron because his name's Aaron and I think he's being an idiot, had bought on eBay. We had to go through some back roads to get to the property. We picked everything up and all was well. It had been raining for a part of the day, but it really picked up when we were loading the parts. On the way back, we got to a causeway we had crossed just an hour before, but now it was covered in what looked like half a meter of water, so we stopped. I had been navigating and knew we could back up and take another much longer route, even though the highway was just a bit past the causeway. There was no way I was going through the water as it looked. I had been caught on a causeway 20 years ago in less water and had my car pushed off into the river. I didn't lose that car, but it was one of the scariest moments of my life. I said we had to turn back and could take a different road 10 kilometers around, which would take us via a bridge over the same river. Aaron decided to push on and started driving forward. I panicked and got straight out. It was far more water than I had gone through when I nearly lost my car and my life before. I got out well before the water, so I didn't let water into the car by the way. Aaron didn't even get halfway across before the water pushed his car off the side, rolled it completely over, and it ended up right on the bank 50 meters downstream. He was extremely lucky not to drown, and I ran down and helped him out. Immediately, he was aggressive and combative, saying that if my weight had still been in the car, he would have made it across. Admittedly, I'm over 130 kilograms, but his car is a 1,650 kilogram Commodore wagon with a couple hundred kilograms of eBay parts in the back, so it's not like I would have made much difference. We phoned for help, and the river went down within an hour, letting us cross the causeway on foot. We haven't spoken since, and he's been avoiding me in places we usually go. But on Friday, I received a letter from a lawyer I know is real in our town, but it sounds like it was written by my friend. It's asking for $50,000 for the car and personal damages because I made the car unsafe by getting out. It was a 1997 Commodore, maybe worth $1,500 on a good day. I think he's being a dickhead. Someone reassure me. It's not up to me to sit in someone's car when they're doing something dumb, is it? Ideally, I'd like to post him this link and responses if they're what I think they'll be. I want to contact his lawyer to tell them Aaron is being an idiot on their letterhead. But in the off chance it's for real, should I get my own lawyer to draft a "Stop this, you bunch of goons" letter? Now for the top comments before reading the update. So what I gather from this is, friend wants to cross a river-washed road. You say it's a bad idea. He says, "Nah mate, I'm doing it." You get out of fear for your own safety. Friend drives in, and car washes away. Your friend blames you because 130 kilograms could have saved it. Yeah, that sounds like a crock of turd. I don't think you are liable for anything. However, I would consult an attorney for legal advice pertaining to this situation. You were in imminent danger and acted to ensure your own safety. There is nothing wrong with that. However, do not repost responses here and show him what people say to you. You could be liable for reasons, or even be incriminated. Yeah, that's what happened. I got carried away in a moment of salivating over internet justice. I won't say anything to him about this post. I used to practice law in New South Wales. I am no longer authorized to practice there, and this cannot be relied upon as legal advice. But here is general advice to inform your next steps. 1. Observe whether the letter of demand states a due date and whether they provided you with time to reply. If you do not comply with those dates, then the next step for Aaron is to follow statutory process for reissuing the letter of demand until eventually bringing a claim to court for a debt owing. I recommend you look to New South Wales statute on the letter of demand process. It details the time periods and process. 2. Do not contact the lawyer or speak to Aaron, or write or say anything to them or other people around them. Do not try to write to them about your version of events. If I was advising a client, I would instruct them to delete any Reddit post as well, as it is relevant evidence that can be used to cross-examine any written evidence you wish to provide and may undermine your credibility as a witness. Given a formal dispute may be a he said, she said situation, your reliability as a witness is important. 3. You should retain a lawyer promptly who will draft a response to the letter of demand and provide you with counsel. There's no due date or info about a time to reply, just a statement that because of my actions, their client is out a total of $50,000 and I need to pay it. It's like they've already found me guilty. There's nothing about court or how to pay or when. Makes me think it's more likely a fakie. I won't contact Aaron about it or ask him to read this thread. If I want to save myself money and just send a copy to the lawyers involved asking, "Can I get you to validate that this was sent from you?" Is that likely to be a risk? Or should even that go through a lawyer I pick? I recognize that might be going beyond what you're allowed to advise. I'll probably hit up a lawyer of my own this week. Now for the update 2 weeks later. I went to a lawyer my parents had used a few years ago and they recommended. She took one look at the letter from my friend Aaron's lawyers and said she had concerns about it and she'd respond. She contacted his lawyer, and my lawyer emailed me to tell me Aaron's lawyers aren't his lawyers at all, but to contact her if I heard more. Otherwise, no need for more action. Aaron apparently faked the letter and admitted as much to me yesterday when he finally decided to talk to me. He wants me to retract my complaint to his lawyers about him using their letterhead. I hadn't complained to them myself, so I did the time-honored thing and told him to go pound sand, but it might have rhymed with, go eat a bag of dicks. Next story. Update. My mom thinks a court will give her my house. Original post. I bought a small starter home during the housing market crash, completely by myself. I lived there for the better part of a decade before buying a larger home with my now husband. My parents really wanted to live there because it was small and easy to maintain. They have foreclosed in the past, so there's no way they'd be capable of someone giving them a mortgage. Also, my dad is retired and my mom doesn't work. They wanted to rent from me. For a discounted rent, they paid off the mortgage, let's say $50,000, with an over six-figure inheritance my parents got. A lease was written explaining that it was a prepayment of rent and their rent would be only the taxes and insurance, $350 a month. Basically only going up when taxes or insurance went up. We signed the lease with all the other typical stuff in it and had it notarized, and that's how it's been for a while now. So, to be clear, I'm not making a dime on this house. I recently told them the rent would go up by $3. Yes, $3, because of a slight increase in the insurance. My mother lost her mind. She claimed I'm a money-hungry bitch, said she was going to rip out everything she did, garden and other cosmetic changes, that I owe her, and that I can't evict her because it's her house. She claims she's not responsible for the insurance. The lease says otherwise. That insurance hasn't been raised in a decade. Look at lumber prices. And that I'm trying to make her pay my personal homeowner's insurance. She said a court will show me that and give her my house. We have a notarized lease. They are listed as tenants. I am the only one on the deed. My father demanded the bills, 0 balls this man has, to see if I'm ripping them off. P.S. This house is a commutable distance from Manhattan, so a studio apartment around here is like $1,500. This is a house with a large yard for their dog. I could easily get $2,000 for this house even before they moved in. I sent them copies of the taxes and insurance showing only their address. I'm charging them discounted taxes. You get a discount for paying in full 90 days early. I told them to add it up and divide by 12. And I told my mother to talk to a lawyer so they can slap some sense into them. I guess my father agreed with me because now she's divorcing my father. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Kick them out then. Send them the eviction notice and let her try that nonsense in court. I told my father I would, and my mom is dead set on a judge giving her the house. And on top of that, calling me money hungry, saying they'll all see it. My husband said to print out rental listings in the area, slam them on the table, and tell them to decide $353 or $2,000. Choice is yours. I also tried to explain the clauses I can use to get her out. She thinks I can never make her leave. I don't know what Kool-Aid she drank. I would seriously have her checked for dementia for this. Or it could be a number of things: UTI, brain tumor, change in hormone levels. Mom needs to get checked out to see if this is something major. All of this over $3? Not you, of course. A line needs to be drawn, and if you don't draw it, then they will cross it at every chance. Also, are you serious about the divorce? It's just mind-blowing to me. Who knows? She called and told me she was divorcing him, wanted all her money back, and to never speak to her again. Of course, she has threatened divorce before. I don't know where she would live because she can't afford anywhere, and it sure as heck isn't with me. They claim you're money hungry, yet they are trying to steal your house? Interesting. You have a signed and clear lease agreement. I don't think there's anything that will force you to give them your home. I would definitely be talking with a lawyer though. Password protect things just in case. Make sure your parents can't call up any company and make changes without giving a password. Might also want to head over to the Just Know Family subreddit. There are people there who have dealt with similar issues with their families. Where we live, certain utilities can only be under the homeowner's name because it goes based on the deed. I've talked to a lawyer, and they told me there's no way she could get the house. She's just a tenant, and I don't have to pay her back the rent she's given me because she got to live there all this time. Edit. First, I want to thank everyone. I was mainly just venting because I was very upset after the exchange and have been dealing with some health issues, which my parents know about, so it's just a range of emotions right now. I keep getting a lot of the same questions. They have lived there for 4 years now. My mom has always been entitled and an alcoholic. Weekends and summers were spent with family. My aunt admitted when I was an adult that it was to keep us from being around the alcohol. I mainly did this for my father, so he could get a chance to retire after having heart surgery when he had worked a physically demanding job for 36 years. They asked to rent the house and pay it off as a prepayment of mortgage, so the only big monthly bill they had was their health insurance. I had a few others interested in renting my house. I did not ask my parents for this arrangement. They did not co-sign on the mortgage or help with the down payment. Their name is not on my house or deed. There have been rent increases in the past due to the taxes and insurance going up, and there was never an issue before. My husband's dad unfortunately passed away without getting to enjoy his retirement, a big reason why my husband told my dad he needs to retire and enjoy life a little, and his inheritance helped pay the down payment on our new house. My mom has a history of putting things on me, and I guess $3 is my line in the sand. I started paying $200 a week after I graduated high school until I moved out at 20. I worked about 65 hours a week on top of school to do this. And yes, shockingly, they foreclosed when I moved out. I stupidly put her on my phone plan and basically paid her phone bill for 2 years until the contract ended because she only paid me for 3 months out of those 2 years. She promised money for my wedding and never delivered. They didn't pay for college, and they stopped paying for clothes and school expenses when I was 16 because I had a job. I know this is all a red flag parade, but I trusted my dad more than her, I guess, and thought I was doing a good thing. I also want to keep this house because I love it and want to move back one day. It's just too small for us as a young family, or allow my child to live there when they go to college, so they can have fun without parents hanging around or racking up dorm costs. Also, she threatens divorce all the time. I doubt she'll actually go through with it. Now for the update. I finally have an update for you guys, so I'll aboard the Disappointment Express. To back up, after the divorce comment, they are not, in fact, getting a divorce. They went and celebrated their anniversary at a casino. I did not speak to them for a week. This past weekend, I tried to speak to my father and get an apology, hoping he would be in a better frame of mind. He wasn't. He doubled down with the BS, saying they didn't realize all the stuff I put in the lease, that my house was uninhabitable when they moved in. It wasn't. That they never would have put work into the house if they were just renters, etc. I asked them to specify, and they brought up the garage screen door, the shed roof. My husband replaced 2/3 of it with my dad's help. My dad did the other third. And, by God, the hose. The hose leaked. None of that affects the livability of the house, but in the words of my lawyer, "And you agreed to live there in its original condition, buddy. That's on you, just like not reading the lease." My dad went on to list all the things they were supposedly doing for me without acknowledging a damn thing I was doing for them. At that point, I said some not-so-nice things, including the alcohol-induced dementia everyone mentioned. They wanted to know if they were still going to be able to take my son to the fair. Not a fat chance in hell. I told him I didn't want either of them around me or my family until they stopped being delusional, and to either pay the increase or GTFO. I then cried when I got off the phone, and my husband was upset with all of this. Cut to today. My mother called me asking what needed to be done to resolve this because not being able to see my son was upsetting to them. I told them they needed to apologize for what they called me and that they were out of line. Well, you guys, they were scammed. My parents were scammed. That's what this was all about. In my area, homeowners get daily calls, texts, and letters from people wanting to buy their houses. It's not new in this market. I have even told them these letters are trash. Well, my parents were getting calls from people saying they were going to be renting the house. These callers acted like they were representing me. Someone even showed up to their house and was being very pushy about trying to see my mom inside the house. This all happened before I mentioned the rent increase. So when my mom heard rent increase, she thought these phone calls and this person were real, like I was going to raise the rent to something they couldn't afford and force them out. This was before I told them it was $3. But even after that, they still thought I was throwing them out. I asked them why they didn't just ask me, and they said they were scared and had no place to go. I explained to them that's not even how it works. I can't just rent a place with tenants. There's a whole legal process, and they should know this. They apologized for how they acted, for everything they said, and were embarrassed. They were even more embarrassed that they believed this person, officially realizing they had fallen for a scammer because they thought they were smarter than that. Thankfully, they hadn't given them money or information yet. I told them the scammers were probably setting them up for it. They'd pretend to rent a house, collect first, last security from the victim, and when the new tenants show up, the house is already occupied. Or they pretend they need money to let the current occupants stay. I have no idea why they believed or fell for this person, or why they never asked me in the first place since I don't, and wouldn't, hire a representative for my one house. Their cameras were off when the person came, but they're going to file a police report anyway. I told them to call the cops next time and file for harassment and trespassing if these people call or show up again. I got my apology from both parents. I explained everything in the lease and why it was legally written that way. I explained to them that I can't throw them out on the street on a whim, and that as long as they pay the minimum bills to live there, taxes and insurance, I will keep my end of the deal. So I guess that's my update. They're not getting evicted for now, but I might have to start monitoring them more closely to make sure they don't fall for other dumb scams.